Good morning. I am Mrs. M. Sasikala, Assistant Professor, Department of English. Today I am going to explain My Mother's Village from Autobiography of an Unknown Indian, Book 1, Chapter 3. It was written by Nirasi Chowdhury. The Calcutta or Calicut was the village of author's mother. It was in the district of Tipperary. Tipperary was 5 miles away from the steamer station of Ajapur on the Mehna. In his time, there was no railway or bridge. They had to come by boat or steamer. Sometimes they came by train, steamer, or palanquin. The village was thickly wooded. He could see some waterway, marsh, pond, pool, and tank. The pond water was in the color of brewed tea. He could see more hens and water hens in the pond. The author always had the fear of trees and woods. He overcame his fear only in Calicut. Then he described the beautiful places in and around Calicut. The author visited Calicut 6 times. 1904, 1907, 1908, 1909 twice and 1910. They had been dropped in and isolated at Japur railway station. Then his father took them in a deserted hut and left for palanquin. But instead of palanquin, he would brought some doolies. His father never stayed with them in Calicut. Finally, they would reach their grandma house. It was a small house. His grandfather died in the late 70s. He left his wife and other family members. The author explained the reason of his father's disappearance in his mother's village. In those days, a son-in-law had to be entertained with considerable ceremony and formalities. His father understood the author's grandmother's circumstances, so he avoided to visit the village. He also learned that it was at Calicut the son-in-law had been bastinado. He had also seen such incidents. Bastinado means a kind of punishment. Incidents in the village. After the arrival of his mother, a ceremonial welcome was given to his mother by his mother's friend. She was a young woman from a farmer's family. Then more welcomes were given by other women. They had brought grass, grain, betel leaf and betel nut, vermilion, 1 or 2 coins and an egg. With those things they had done some rituals. Then they sat down in a circle and chat. He also saw another ceremony on the last day of the Bengali year or the Bengali New Year's Day. On this day, all the cows, bulls and oxen were washed and decorated. They also wore shell chains and garlands. They were made to go around. One night, they had a terrible fright. It happened in their first visit in 1904. There was a fire nearby hut. The members of his grandfather's family went and helped their neighbors. Luckily, nothing had happened to their hut. In the morning, they saw molten lumps of silver, which were his rupees once. Men and ideals. The author's grandmother would finish her widow's meals at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then she sat down at the door of the hut. She used to narrate stories to her grandchildren or watching them play. In the morning, she was visited by 2 women of the former class. One was Pashani and another woman was Kali. Kali was a beautiful singer. The author liked her song very much because she sang with expressive gestures of the hands and arms. He also tells about the 3 boys who had good voices. One of them was a tenant of his grandmother. They were Pala, Jala and Chatra. One day they sat and began to sing. That's the river, there the ferry, but I dread the crossing lone. We will go in, master, or arm in arm, and at his feet be thrown. Then the author spoke about the peasant and Calicut. At Calicut, they were less quarrelsome, less violent than his own district. Calicut was a village of peasants, according to others, but there were many persons from the village who held high posts in the service of the government. At the same time, two of the accused in the very first political bomb manufacturing and bomb throwing case in India were sons of this village. Sarail was a well-known village in the south of Calicut. Shillong. Now the narrator described his experience in Shillong. His mother's brother and his family and a cousin of his mother with his family had been living at Shillong in 90s. He couldn't recollect any memories of Shillong because he visited Shillong in his childhood days. But he tried his best to give analysis of the ideas he formed about Shillong. In Shillong, they could see grown-up English men and their doll-like babies. It was also the place of Gurkhas. His mother told about the training of the Gurkhas. In 1907, his uncle spent few months in his village and he showed his collection of photographs of Shillong to the author. It was taken by himself. It was the photos of narrator's father. His uncle brought orchids of various colors from Shillong and planted in Calicut. This gave the strongest impression of the beauty of Shillong in the author's mind. Thank you, students. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching.